Hi all, welcome and welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to share a horrifying story with you out of Powell, Tennessee, where a beautiful 13-year-old cheerleader's body was found on a path in a wooded area not far from her home. Her name was Savannah Copeland, and on the night of October 22nd of 2024, around midnight, she snuck out of her house to meet up with a friend. That was the last night her family saw her alive. The following morning, when it was time to wake her up for school, Savannah's mother saw that she wasn't in her room or anywhere else in the house. So she called Savannah's dad, who was at work, and they began looking for her. When they couldn't find her anywhere, the police were called to help. And hours later, Savannah's body was found on a path in a wooded area by people who were walking the path. She was found deceased with multiple stab wounds that police say were inflicted with a pocket knife. According to police, just hours after Savannah was found and her heartbroken family was notified, they made an arrest. A 15-year-old boy, who the family says they and Savannah knew. His name is Malachi Harris. And even though they don't show his face in news clips and videos, Savannah's father said in an interview that Savannah's family knew the boy and cared about him. But not much else has been shared about him, other than he has not shared with police why he did it. Police held a press conference after Harris's arrest, but they didn't share much information. So, I included as many clips of interviews her father gave as I could find, talking about why he thinks it happened and what took place the morning Savannah went missing.
Tonight, the investigation continues after a 13-year-old girl was found dead in Powell yesterday afternoon.
Last night at 11, we learned that a 15-year-old has been arrested in connection with her death. And tonight, 6 on Your Side reporter Molly O'Brien brings us up to date with the latest on the investigation. Molly.
That's right, Don and Lori. The investigation continuing tonight as that 15-year-old suspect was in court this morning. Now, this all started around 4:45 last night when the Knox County Sheriff's Office received a call about a body on a trail in the Broad Acre subdivision here in Powell. KCSO telling us the victim was a 13-year-old girl. Now, last night during a press conference, we were told a 15-year-old boy was arrested and charged with second-degree murder in connection to the 13-year-old's death. Knox County Sheriff Tom Spangler said the two knew each other, but wouldn't go into detail on what their relationship was or how they knew each other. The suspect, again, was arraigned in court earlier today. Again, he's charged with second-degree murder. I did reach out to the district attorney's office about whether the suspect will be tried as an adult. The DA's office telling me they haven't made a decision about that yet due to the ongoing investigation. I spoke with 6 News legal analyst Greg Isaacs today about how the court deals with juvenile cases.
Typically, the most persuasive evidence is the nature of the delinquent act or the criminal offense and the experts. Our juvenile court here in Knox County has an array of mental health professionals that are on staff full-time. So if you are the juvenile judge, you will balance what's in the best interest of the juvenile and the seriousness of the allegations.
So, like we said, both the victim and the suspect are juveniles in this case. The Knox County Sheriff's Office telling us the suspect is due back in court tomorrow at 10 a.m. The judge in the case will make a decision about whether or not the suspect's name will be released. We'll, of course, be in the courtroom tomorrow morning and bring you the latest updates on this case. Reporting live in Powell, Molly O'Brien, 6 on Your Side.
All right, Molly, thank you. The death of this 13-year-old girl has deeply affected so many people, and Knox County schools working to make sure students have the resources they need.
Yeah, the school system confirming to 6 News today that grief counselors were at Powell Middle School This was to help children who needed a moment to reflect during the school day, or maybe they needed to talk through what they were feeling.
And that grief is affecting the entire community in Powell. Many telling 6 News, our reporters out there, that the overall feeling is shock.
Now, 6 on Your Side reporter Ella Wales spoke with community members today about this. She joins us now live in Powell with more. Ella.
Dawn, Lori, Powell residents I've talked to have told me that the community here is typically a quiet, safe place, and that this tragedy is the last thing that anyone expected. Now, as we know, the 13-year-old's body was found on a trail in the Broad Acres subdivision. Sheriff Spangler tells us this trail is often used by children in the neighborhood to get to a Weigel's that is right across from Powell High School. Dylan Williams is the father of a 2-year-old and says as a parent, this case hits close to home.
I don't really have a word other than maybe just shocked, and they don't really know how to feel, because I don't think it's ever really happened like that, honestly. Something to be worried about in your own community. We don't really have maybe that's the word, is worry.
Another parent in the neighborhood that I talked to who didn't want to be on camera tells me that she hugged her middle school daughter extra tight last night. In Powell, Ella Wales, 6 on Your Side.
All right, Ella. Meanwhile, tonight, Knox County Sheriff releasing a statement as the investigation continues.
Sheriff Tom Spangler writing, quote, "I am grateful to everyone at the Knox County Sheriff's Office for their hard work and diligence in this case." He goes on to say, "We ask you to keep the family of the victim, the Powell community, and our responding personnel in your prayers," end of quote.
Knox County prosecutors plan to try a 15-year-old as an adult in the killing of a 13-year-old girl.
We learned that a judge this morning set a transfer hearing for Malachi Harris. Now, he's accused of fatally stabbing Savannah Copeland on October 22nd.
Copeland's body was found on a trail through some woods behind the Broad Acre subdivision in Powell the afternoon following that overnight stabbing.
News of the stabbing shocked neighbors last month. You may remember a memorial was set up outside the neighborhood pool in Copeland's memory. 6 on Your Side reporter Molly O'Brien was inside the courtroom this morning and has the latest now on this case.
Malachi Harris showing very little emotion during Wednesday's hearing. The 15-year-old is charged with second-degree murder.
Normally, like I said, in juvenile court, the focus is the best interest of the child. In a serious criminal case, that goes out the window, and a lot more scrutiny and a lot more factors.
During the hearing, we learned the state intends to try Harris as an adult.
Court balances the juvenile's prior record, if any, whether it was a crime of violence versus a crime, a property crime, whether other instances of rehabilitation or mental health therapy have worked, and a catch-all, what's in the best interest of the community.
The judge will weigh those factors at a future hearing and make a ruling.
If he finds by a probable cause standard that the juvenile should be transferred, then they are tried in adult court, and the change in the sentencing exposure can be dramatic.
Also during the hearing, the defense filing a request for discovery.
Discovery is basically you're asking to see the evidence in the case. So if it's a homicide case, you want to see the autopsy. You want to see the DNA. You want to see if there's any forensics. You want to know what the post-mortem interval or the time of death is.
The judge ruling the state has until January 14th to hand over all of the evidence. Malachi Harris is due back in court for a transfer hearing on January 14th at 8:30 a.m. In Knoxville, Molly O'Brien, 6 on Your Side.
And of course, we will continue to follow this case as it makes its way through the court system.
Tonight, for the first time, we are hearing from Savannah's family. 10 News anchor Robin Wilhoit sits down with her dad.
On and off of the
Michael Copeland surprisingly finds solace here, along a wooded trail next to railroad tracks, tucked away in a Powell neighborhood.
This was made by the husband of our pastor.
A cross marks the spot where his daughter Savannah spent the final moments of her short 13 years.
Yeah, she's a lot like me.
From their love of scary movies to their quiet, introverted nature. But Michael says when Savannah was on the sidelines of a football field or basketball court, he witnessed a transformation.
But yeah, she just loved
being out there with everyone and doing the things that cheerleaders do.
And the Copelands were constants at Powell Middle games to cheer on their girl, Van, as they called her.
This big head on a stick, her face, and we would hold it up and yell at her. And I mean, everyone in the stands would hear us and see it and laugh.
The morning after Powell Middle's first basketball game of the season, Michael was on his way to work. A call from his wife brought silence. Savannah was missing. The family used an app to trace her digital tracks up until her phone died. They scoured the area before Knox County deputies launched a search.
Her Life 360, which is an app that you can get, made it look like she was walking there.
12 hours later, a detective knocked on the Copeland's door. Savannah's body was discovered along a trail.
It's a surreal feeling that, you know, for a moment you don't feel like it's real. And you just expect to wake up from it.
Investigators say she was stabbed several times with a pocket knife. Malachi Harris, a 15-year-old the family had befriended, is charged as a juvenile with Savannah's murder. Michael won't speculate on a motive. Instead, he and his family are processing their grief, comforted by an outpouring of love from friends and strangers.
When you're in a dark place, sometimes it's difficult to see anything until you realize that there is still a light there, and it actually looks brighter because you're in a dark place. But the reality is that that light has always been there. I'm a religious person, so I'm going to say that that light comes from God, but it is seen through the community, through the relationships and the people that we are surrounded by. Hopefully people won't forget her.
Back at the cross, adorned with a crown, flowers, and candy, this landscaper by trade refuses to see the tragedy, but instead the beauty of this space.
Not like a spot in the woods, but like a place where you might want to come and just sit.
It's a step toward healing this father never imagined he would have to take.
But we have to recognize that we're going to build a new normal, which is not going to be nearly as good, nearly as joyful, but it's still what is. She was a lot like me.
Michael Copeland has plenty of pictures of his daughter, but one taken recently stands out.
And there's actually a picture of her standing outside. She was really happy. It was really fun.
He reminisces about that night in late October. His 13-year-old Savannah on the sidelines, cheering on the Powell Middle School Panthers as they faced Halls on the hardwood.
There's a lot of conflicting emotions. Of course, the natural one to move toward is anger and rage toward him. But this is someone we cared about.
Do you have any indication why?
No. Something made him angry, and he's not at an age where they really understand fully consequences.
Those consequences include the chance prosecutors will try the young suspect in adult court. Do you want that to happen?
Yes, absolutely.
Michael hasn't spoken with the teen suspect. He says now is not the time.
I think I will at some point. You know, it may be 10 years from now. It may be 3 years from now. But yeah, I want to look him in the eye and I want to ask him why. You know, for a moment, you don't feel like it's real.
The heartache of betrayal and crushing pain of loss. The Copelands are only beginning to process their grief.
Yeah. A lot of the kids that are coming by are dropping stuff off here.
But at a fence, not far from the trail, this memorial to Savannah grows. Flowers, stuffed animals, even candy left over from Halloween scattered about.
I love seeing the outpouring of emotion and concern and love. As difficult as it is, we don't need to shy away from those things. We need to embrace them because it's what makes us human. You know, the day before I was out back building a paver patio, and she was sitting on the wooden deck doing artwork. she was out there doing that, so I was down here and she's up here, and we didn't talk because we're both introverts, but we were close by, and I kind of wish I'd talked a little bit more to her.
Along a pathway in the Broadacre subdivision in the Powell community where Savannah's body was found is a memorial where every day someone leaves candy, a teddy bear, or flowers by the cross a church member made. It's uplifting, says Michael Copeland, but in this period of support for his family's loss, there is a lot of anger.
Anger is okay. It's a natural emotion. We need to be angry, and I am very angry. I don't show it, but I am angry at a number of people.
Can you tell me who?
I'm angry at Savannah. Why did she go out that night? She's never gone out, as far as I know. I could look at her Life 360 every single day, and I could see she didn't sneak out. She never went out. We never had to worry about that. She was generally speaking terrified to go out. Going out at 12 o'clock at night, not the best thing in the world, generally speaking. So she knew these things, and so it was an absolute shock to us that she would have gone out. So I'm mad at her. I'm angry at this kid who did that. It was a betrayal of trust. I'm angry at this kid's family that I have opinions about now. But I think the discipline in our faith is that we recognize that that road that I just went down, talking about my anger, can so easily turn into hatred and rage.
Do you think you will ever forgive this person?
Yeah, I do. Forgiveness is a wonderful word. When these kinds of things happen, we talk about forgiving. It's not necessarily, it's not at all because that person deserves it. It is almost entirely because we are done letting that person's crimes control who we are.
Harris is being charged as an adult with second-degree murder, as he should. And the loss of Savannah has devastated not only her loved ones, but her entire community.
We're learning more about that 13-year-old victim in this case. Savannah Copeland, her passion was cheerleading.
You spoke to her father, Robin, and 10 News reporter Olivia Degg spoke to her cheer coaches today about the many tributes to Savannah. First, you learned more about her today.
That's right, John. Savannah Copeland was spunky. She loved all living creatures, from a tiny spider to a puppy dog, and she loved to tumble. But her family and her coaches say she was introverted and kind of shy. But cheer really helped her get out of her shell and use her voice. Her teammates and her coaches are making sure everyone can still hear it.
Her spunky personality was the icing on the cake for our squad.
The Powell Mac cheerleading coaches say Savannah Copeland was quiet until you gave her the megaphone.
The girls were like, "Oh no, I don't want that." And she was like, "Give it to me."
She loved to tumble, never missed a practice, and soon took on the role of a leader.
She just had an aura, a presence about her that was a genuine and loving presence.
But on October 22nd, her voice was silenced. Coach Courtney Groom says the weight of the tragedy has changed her team of middle schoolers.
They were a lot stronger than I thought, but it was hard seeing how hurt they all were. So, try not to cry. Hold on.
Terry Shalander is not only a coach, but a mom.
We love them like we love our own kids. So it was devastating for us. And then to have to go tell my daughter that she's now missing a teammate and a friend.
With an ongoing criminal investigation into Savannah's death, cheer became a safe space for the girls to talk about their teammate and their friend.
Parents volunteered their homes, and we could go and let the girls sit together and just be together. They could cry, they could tell stories and laugh.
After devastation, the world keeps spinning, and 2 weeks after Savannah's death, the Powell cheer team had to compete. The team honored Savannah in their clothes.
Went out and bought blue Def Leppard t-shirts. She loved music and hair bands, and her dad loves Def Leppard.
But the girls also knew they wanted to leave space for her on the mat.
They immediately, we don't want somebody to take her place. Nobody else wants to do the megaphone. Can we do a recording? Does anybody have it on video?
After some searching, they found the audio.
So she was still able to keep her place and her position in the program, and it all started out with her yelling out loud, "It's touchdown time."
Through her love of cheer and the love for her teammates, Savannah's voice will always live on. Today, her cheer coaches told me they're going to start a new tradition called the Savannah Copeland Award. It'll go to a teammate that shows leadership and spunk, just like Savannah. And coming up at 10 News at 6, I'll share how other cheerleaders across the community are honoring Savannah and supporting the Powell cheer team.
Savannah's voice will still be heard because all who loved her and cared for her are making sure of it. And the community surrounding her family has spread the word for people to light their houses with blue lights, Savannah's favorite color, to let her family know their hearts are with them. Such a terrifying story. Thinking her precious daughter was asleep in her bed, only to find out that she was lured to her death instead by someone she probably thought was her friend. So young, so beautiful, and gone too soon. Her family needs all the prayers we can send them to help give them strength to get through this. And they still have a trial to get through. God give them the strength. Thank you for taking the time to listen to Savannah's story. And if you're a parent, grandparent, aunt, uncle, caregiver, and it just scared the crap out of you, it should. Our children today are not living in the same world we grew up in. Today, they have to be worried about being lured out of their homes in the middle of the night and murdered by someone they called a friend. And in Savannah's case, her family may never learn the reason why. Not that any reason could ever be justified. Here's the police press conference so you can hear the information they shared about the case. But they didn't share much. I just want to share it in case you're like me and you want all the information. Stay safe out there, and here is the press conference.
As I stated earlier in an earlier press conference, was that I didn't have an awful lot of information to put out. I do have an additional information to be able to give to you all right now. And I'll just kind of go over just a little bit of what we talked about earlier. But at around 4:45 this afternoon through dispatch, we received a call on a possible deceased body on a trail over in Broadacre subdivision. Our officers responded to that, did find a body. And tonight, just around 9 p.m., detectives identified a person of interest and arrested a 15-year-old male and is being charged with second-degree murder in the death of a 13-year-old young lady. I'm not going to give any names out, and I'm asking that you all give this family some time, and just out of courtesy, I'm not going to give a name. I think they deserve that. And due to this active investigation, they're still looking at some other leads just to see if there's anything else that we need to do and follow up on. These men and women that are standing up here, I give them all the praise in thanks for the job that they've done this evening, this afternoon, and all through the night. And they'll continue doing the work that they need to do to make sure that we have an ending to this case and also bring some closure to the families. I'm going to ask our community to give a unspoken prayer to this family. I don't think any of us that would wake up one morning and think that this could happen to your family. But these detectives that are standing here beside me and behind me, I'm very thankful for the job that they've done very diligently, making sure that they've covered everything that they can, going out, following up on leads to make sure that we can find some kind of closure, not only to this case, but most of all to the family. And please remember this family. I know that it's going to be quite some time for, excuse me, for them to be healing. But I think also what I want to say too is that for our law enforcement professionals, these men and women up here, nothing prepares them for a day like today. Nothing at all. I've said it many times that we have these officers, these detectives, they see things on a daily basis that the average person will never ever see. And then they're expected to go home to their families. Sometimes I think they're treated as robots and think they should not have feelings. They do. They're human just like everybody else. But for them to work so hard and so aggressive on this case, I'm so thankful for that. That shows this community of Knox County of what these men and women do each and every day. And I'm very proud of them. But I'm certainly not taking away time from this family. So at this time, again, I don't have much more information I give you, but I'll take a few questions if you have any.
Sheriff, can you just again stress, I know a lot of you guys have kids, grandkids, 13 years old is an age a lot of folks can resonate with. The tragedy and just what was it like for your department and you personally being there, having to relay messages to that family?
You know, it's tough, and we had some of the detectives that are here right now that that went with one of our chaplains as well to inform the family. And you know, it's tough on them as well to give that kind of information or go to a family and tell them that they now have lost a loved one and nobody expects it, but you know, to unexpectedly have somebody show up at your doorstep and then tell you something that tragic. It's not only, again, I don't make light of it, it's not only tough on that family, but it's tough on those individuals that go there as well. They weigh on that, and I say that to all of our recruits, and I say it probably way too much, but these men and women see way too much on a daily basis that our average citizens out here may never see in their lifetime, and they see it many times, and so it's tough. And again, my thoughts and prayers are certainly with this family.
Are you able to provide a little more context, maybe how long you guys have been aware of this? I know, how long had this 13-year-old been missing for? Are these both people from East Tennessee and that Powell, that Broad Acres area?
They're from there, but I'm not going to get into much details because I don't want to put too much out there to hamper the investigation, and also when it comes to trial, there's some things that we just don't want to get out right yet, and eventually it will.
Can you talk about, I know we mentioned that's an area that a lot of people frequent. It's a trail that a lot of kids in that area are familiar with.
Sure.
How this 13-year-old was discovered is, I'm sure, a question a lot of people have tonight.
Yeah, it will, and you know, it was by somebody else going down that trail, and it's a trail that leads from that pool area there, and it goes to the Weigels down the road, and I think that's where a lot of kids have used that path, so that's why it's there. And but yeah, it's but I do want the community to know this is an isolated incident. They do not have to be worried about somebody out there right now. This is an isolated incident, and we have that individual in custody right now.
Do you believe they knew each other?
We think so. Yeah, we think so.
Are you able to kind of talk about how the body was left there on the trail and what it kind of looked like there at the scene?
I don't really want to talk about that just for the fact, I don't want families seeing this and then say, here's what we saw. It'll come out eventually, but I'm just going to leave it at that.
Sheriff, are you able to tell us, is this scene still being controlled? Tomorrow morning, this might be breaking news to people, then there might be kids going down that same path that they're going to run into?
They may. We've got some people that are still out there right now, so they may run into somebody, but the area has been somewhat cleaned up, but we've got some people out there.
And you still under the belief that more arrests will be made in this? Not ruling it out yet?
Not ruling it out, but there may be some additional charges or something that may come up about the later investigation or the continuing of it anyway. But again, let me stress that I'm very thankful for this crew standing here beside me, because they've worked very diligently and they've put themselves out there making sure that everything's covered and protecting this community. That's what they were doing. And lastly, I'm going to say that our thoughts and prayers are going to continue being with this family. Anybody else? Thank you all. I appreciate it coming.